the idea of the liability package, the last I understood it was the Democrats were in favor of saying, OK, we'll give you liability, but that only gets you through the beginning of next year, and then it has to be renegotiated. And I think that McConnell would like to see something that's a little more permanent than that. Is there movement on that? Where does that stand right now?
Well, let's just say right now it's moving back and forth. But the point being that at the beginning of the pandemic, there were no guidelines. And so if somebody's going to sue a bar, alleging that they were infected at the bar, when initially we were being told not to wear a mask, and then we're told to wear a mask. But there's this murkiness of guidelines at the outset. How do you decide what is your standard? I'm not an attorney, but is it gross negligence? Is it ordinary negligence? How much you spend on causation? And you could just bankrupt a small business just by the process of establishing whether or not they adhered to a safe harbor at a certain point in time. By the way, what is a safe harbor? So that murkiness is what we need to clear up. We feel like it could have a chilling effect upon, a bankrupting effect upon small businesses. So we're trying to work through that process and then going forward. Again, it's moving back and forth, but I do think that folks are trying to find a solution.
Is there an understanding in the Senate and Congress in general about how bad this is right now, and if there are lockdowns that come, even if there's not, just with the virus raging, it's going to mean that there's a big economic impact and that help needs to happen immediately? And even if you guys pass this week, it's not going to do anything until the end of this year, beginning of next year anyway? Well,
first, I understand it. I can promise you the people working on this committee understand it. One thing that frustrates me, some folks are saying, well, it doesn't include this and it doesn't include that, and so I'm not going to vote for it. I'm thinking, wait a second. You're telling me that because everybody doesn't get everything, no one gets anything. And these small businesses that may go bankrupt if we don't tide them over, and the family which may be homeless, and the folks whose unemployment runs out so they lose their car, you're not going to help them because, oh my gosh, you're not giving them something that I want them to get. At some point, we got to, one, recognize the need, recognize that this is a relief package, but recognize that we can't do everything for everybody. So we have to do as much as we can for as many people as we can. If we can do that, then I think we get a package through. I recognize the hurt, and the folks working on this committee recognize the hurt. I hope all my colleagues do too.
Yeah, I do too. Amen. In terms of the money for the states, and again, I know there's a dollar figure on the table, but working around the edges, trying to make sure what it's able to be used for and what it's not, where are the big sticking points on that part of the negotiation? Is this making sure that it can't be used for past instances where you've promised too much in the pensions, but how do you protect that? Because money's fungible.
Well, you could say, one way would be to say that you cannot put more towards your pensions than you did last year. So it'd be part of your normal budget processing. And I think that's, I'm not saying that's where we would land, but I think that's a reasonable compromise to ensure that, yes, we are putting some dollars aside, but we're not going to suddenly balloon it. That would be one thing. Again, another thing is how do you, it may be that the need exceeds the amount of money that we have there. So if the need exceeds, how do you make sure that everybody gets kind of a fair share? And state and local. I've learned that sometimes parishes and counties and mayors don't trust their governors. They think the governors will keep all the money and not trickle it down, or if they trickle it down, only to their state, only to their cities, but not to other cities of maybe the other party. So we're trying to make sure that that localities had that same access, direct access to the dollar, without necessarily being filtered by a governor's political persuasion.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.